Namaste, Gooners. Whoa. Had to teleport this lovely book down from the shelf because today we're talking about some Japanese sorcerers, but not those Japanese sorcerers or this Japanese sorcerer. I did not plan on wearing this shirt, by the way. It just worked out. No, this is not JJK. Today I'm reviewing Kagurabachi, as you might have seen in the title. This is Kagurabachi Volume One. Basically, I got recommended this by some people who are into similar manga to me. You can probably see my physical collection is mostly Marvel, DC, but Naruto, JJK. I'm building up the physical manga collection because I used to mostly read it digitally. That aside, Kagurabachi got recommended to me by people who are into similar stuff, and I thought I'd give it a shot. And then I was starting the channel, and I was like, this is the kind of stuff I want to talk about. So I decided to turn this into a formal review, I suppose. And first here, I just want to give my general thoughts about it, and maybe give you a little intro, and then we'll move into a more in-depth spoilers. So, first, general thoughts. When I got the book, I read the first chapter. It was a little slow, I'm not going to lie. And then, after about a week, I picked it back up, and I blitzed the last 7 chapters in, I don't know, probably an hour. I mean, I'm a fast reader, but I feel like in the graphic novel comic world, if you read through it fast, that's also a really good thing, because it doesn't mean the art is bad, it means the art is moving you, which is what it should be doing. As far as an opener goes, because I haven't looked at spoilers, just as Volume 1. I like spoilers for like future volumes and stuff. Volume 2 comes out in February, so I'm hoping to do that as a follow-up and continue on with the series, because I'm enjoying it. Bottom line, 7.5, 8. That would be like my ranking. It's a really good intro. I can't judge it on like a wider level because I haven't read the future material, but as an intro, I'm intrigued. 7.5, 8, and the art is really good. I'll be putting stills obviously in the video, not so many, but a few. So yeah, as just a little intro to this book before the spoiler section, so I can get you to go read it, because I think you should. Basically, it's about Chihiro. He's a kid in the beginning, like in the first chapter. His dad is like the greatest katana builder of all time, and his dad builds like magical katanas, because this world has like people with magic powers, like you would see in any kind of anime setting. I think if you're familiar at all with that stuff, it'll make complete sense. It throws you kind of right into it, but the first chapter really is just like all a prequel or a flashback. Well, it's not a prequel because it's happening first, but it's all kind of like a flashback until like the very end, when we see him a little bit grown up. Quick pitch: his dad is killed by like evil sorcerers who want to steal the swords from him. Chichiro grows up and gets trained by his dad's friend, who is also a sorcerer, and he becomes he has the last sword. His dad made like a special sword for him, which was like his last creation. And he takes his sword and he's gonna like exact revenge on the people who killed his father and stole the swords. And like, he's a good guy. He's gonna right the wrongs of things. And he gets tied up in some things that seem to be ever expanding throughout this volume, and it kind of just ratchets up. And there's some good fights. There's some cool like villain of the week type stuff, and I really enjoyed all of that. If you like Jujutsu Kaisen, I will definitely recommend it to you, because it definitely like, I feel like, draws a lot of inspiration from JJK and just kind of like modern manga in general. So yeah, that's kind of my pitch for it. If you haven't read it, go read it before you watch the rest of the video. This is the part where you should pause. YouTube will hopefully save your space. If not, you can figure it out. You're not dumb. And go read it, because I always think people should just be reading in general, and I love comics and manga, so go check it out. And we're going to get into the more in-depth review. Let's get into the more in-depth section. Like I was saying prior to the synopsis, right? The series, well, this volume, but the series as a whole, I guess, starts off a little slow. Like, unless you read the summary on the back, which I did, so I kind of knew what I was getting into. And I did hear a few things on the internet about it before, but nothing like crazy spoilery. It is, like, it starts off with just him and his dad, like, having a conversation. But it is actually, like, a pretty interesting conversation that they have, and his dad is clearly, like, a little bit aloof compared to Chichiro, and he clearly has grown up very fast and is kind of just taking care of things for his aloof father, but his dad is good at building katanas, and he also has very, like, serious, like, almost spiritual beliefs about it. And he wants to instill that in Chichiro, and Chichiro has decided that he is going to learn and take over his father's katana making business and learn how to make his like magical, super powerful katanas. Now, this is kind of juxtaposed in the first chapter with towards the like latter half of the chapter we start to see uh, grown up Chichiro, and we also start to see how sorcerer like gangs are exploiting people, and there's like kind of a resistance movement against them. But like I guess the gangs aren't sorcerers; it's more they're like mob people, but they have sorcerers who are super powerful who are backing them doing like normal crime. And we get to see Chichiro cut a bunch of them down and be a badass too, which is cool. And that art definitely hooked me in, and I think it will anyone who kind of appreciates that side of things. But after that first chapter, I think it really starts to gain some momentum and go places when they go to Tokyo. So there's the first chapter and the beginning of the second chapter. They're kind of like small story about Chichiro and Mr. Shiba, who is kind of like his, I assume, the guy who trained him to fight, and his dad's friend from the flashbacks. And the flashbacks occur throughout the volume. So I'm kind of just going to be talking about them all as one thing, but they happen in bits and pieces, of course. So Mr. Shiba and Chichiro have gone kind of to a smaller town to take out some of these normal, like, Yakuza mob people. But those people are backed by a very powerful sorcerer. He has, like, tree powers or something. It was kind of confusing what it was. The powers are very esoteric. They have not really been explained yet, really, how anything works, at least in this volume. So I'm interested to see where that goes, like what the power system is and how they're being explained. Because the powers are unique, but some of them kind of seem like they're not very useful. Now some seem very interesting, and we get to see them for like a few minutes. I'm kind of doing my script out of order, but I wrote about how there's like the middle section of the book is like kind of a villain of the week structure almost, because every chapter he kind of fights like new people who are like have different sorcerer abilities. But like very briefly, they put out like the bad guys put out like a bounty on Chichiro's head after he kills a few of their men, and so these like different sorcerers come after him for the bounty, and they all have like different unique powers. But what I like about it, and similar to JJK in a lot of ways, because there are times that JJK did this, where it's like you introduce somebody who could have like super interesting powers and just dead. But I really appreciate that, because it's like, oh, I can have this idea and I don't need to be like attached to it, because there's like a story to be told beyond that. And of course, I love power scaling and I love all the power stuff, but I also respect a series and a creator who can just be like, yeah, that's cool, but that guy's dead, so who cares, whatever. And it's not like it could never be revisited, right? So that ramble aside, as a series, as a collective thing, on the surface, it comes off as like almost kind of like an edgy, like Bleach type, or at least that kind of aesthetic, like edgy badass revenge thing. It does have a lot of humor within it, and not a lot of it, but some of it is in the art style. Like the art style will change to that more humorous style. Again, Jujutsu Kaisen does that a lot, and I don't know about Chainsaw Man, but I think it might be kind of a similar thing. Excuse me. But the humor is also carried like in the writing. What I really like about it is like nobody is really taking anything super seriously. But then there are a few characters who are, and then it's kind of ups and downs. Like it depends on the moment. But it's done in a very tasteful way. Like basically, they introduce a young girl character who Chichiro has to protect, and she's kind of the comic relief character. And she's always like hungry or asking for things because she's just like trying to get things from people. And they kind of play it for gags, and she's also like not very willing to cooperate most of the time, which I'm sure you can imagine they like kind of play for comedy a decent amount. And well, it's not like I'm not gut busting laughing. The levity is nice for it not to be a total just like dour, like I'm a badass and I have to murder everybody, because there is a lot of murder and blood and killing also, a good amount of it, which nothing wrong with that. Very cool and badass. The tease for the next volume, well, for me it will be the next volume. For whoever was reading it concurrently, it would be the next chapter. But at the end, basically, we get to see the first enemy who's going to have one of the 6 katanas that Chichiro is trying to recover. The katana is called Cloud Gouger. Chichiro's power is based on these goldfish that his dad bought, or seemingly so. His sword kind of has like water-esque powers. But again, it hasn't been like super explained. It's just been shown in art, and the art is very abstract. with what it's trying to show, at least from my like vision of it. But the sword that was revealed towards the end of the book is Cloud Gouger, and it's held by the villain Sojo, who is kind of introduced towards the back half, and he's like a underworld boss, but he doesn't want to cooperate with the rest of Sorcerer Society, it seems. So he's kind of like a rogue guy as well. And I actually found the subversion really interesting because they kind of set up like, oh, we have like, I think it's like a week they give them. Well, rewind. Chichiro encounters a guy who works for the government sorcerer team, or like group, which I think is cool. I like the fact that the government has their own sorcerers. That makes sense. That's something in JJK I don't think was a thing, and it makes sense. Like, of course the government would have their own guys. And they're kind of like a sorcerer police, it seems. I don't know, it's not really explained, but he also knows Chichiro's dad and Mr. Shiba, and he saves Chichiro when he's being like jumped by like 3 guys, and he also gets the bounty taken off his head, because I guess the government can just be like, no, fuck that, don't do that. Anyway, but he basically says like, there's an auction, there's like an underworld auction happening, and Sojo's gonna be there, and they're gonna go after him, and they'll try and recover the katana, because they don't want the katanas out there either, but they don't want Chichiro to get involved, of course. And so it kind of leads you to believe that there's going to be like a little time skip, like maybe like a training arc or something. And the final page is just Chichiro like walks out of a door, and Sojo just like kicks the door into him, I think, or like the little girl maybe is like walking out the door, and Sojo just like busts through the door, and he's just like holding the sword, and he's like, "What's up?" Yeah. But so overall, I really enjoyed it. Again, I busted through it. I'm super interested to see where it goes with the power system, and to learn more about the abilities and the world, because it seems to be developing very interestingly, where like there is a different hierarchy to Sorcerer Society than there is in like something like JJK. And I hate to keep comparing it to JJK. It's just they are very similar, like in idea, or I guess like in themes and ideas. Yeah. And also, I just got done reading JJK not too long ago, like all the way through. I'm now rebuying it on like in physical copies, so I can reread it. And because I like having like the physical media. But yeah, that's my thoughts about it. If you guys read the book, I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. I'm always interested to start a conversation with people. I want to do more reviews like this. This one was a little bit scatterbrained, honestly. I'll be straight up with you. It's like 1 in the morning. I just decided, Sorry, the cat was being a little mischievous. But yeah, again, this video was kind of off the cuff. I did write a script and I barely followed it. Kind of my style. Such a cool, like, bad boy. But yeah, if you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment, subscribe. Always trying to build a community, start a conversation, and get people reading comic books, reading graphic novels, reading manga, reading normal books. That's what the smaller shelf is for, even though there are comic books down there as well. But the rest of and Magic the Gathering cards. But the rest of the small shelf is actually for like books. I do read other than comics and manga, but you know, you should read. You should read whatever you're reading, and not just reading, but also buying physical media, because that's how we protect our, I guess, right to own things as consumers. And it's also just how we show the companies what we actually want. So, yeah. Ooh, I did want to add one little thing, and this is kind of probably a gripe with a lot of manga and like trade paperback stuff, but there are some times where I feel like they should print the pages so it doesn't cut off the art like in the spine. I'm trying to find like a good example. Whoa, like stuff like this. Like, I know that it's probably difficult, but like I feel like there has to be a way to make that better, because I don't know. It's just me. I don't want to like bend the spine all the way out. Anyway, that's a rant and a ramble. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll talk to you guys soon, and I'll see you in February, and we'll do Kagurabachi Volume 2. Sure, there'll be videos before that, but we'll see. Peace. Namaste, Gooners.